Welcome to F.A.C.E. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well. Haven't done a market video chat in so many years. So.
Oh, wow. Well, it's good that you're back out there and get the stretch your wings a little bit here on F.A.C.E. Do you know how to share your screen on Zoom? It's a little green box, says share screen.
Yeah, I thought I just did that.
I'm losing your volume.
Okay, here we go.
All right, now I got you. I can hear you. You see the share screen? Green box?
Okay, so I'm just...
You click it, it's in the drop-down menu.
Yeah, I do these all the time, so...
Okay. Your volume keeps fading in and out when you move. So anyway, here we go. You've got the Zoom up there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I do. Okay, so it says I am sharing my... It says I am sharing my screen.
You are. So to pick a screen you want to share. You picked the Zoom screen. So
let me just go back.
New share.
Share. Okay.
New share. Hit the share screen again, and it'll show different monitors that you have, and you can show what you want to show. There you go. There's your wheel. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to start with this, Karen. What came first, the financial markets or the planets?
Well, the planets have been there for millions of years. So.
Oh, yeah. What a setup for that.
Right.
For you.
Exactly. So I just think that, it's just interesting to me. Astrology is a very deep rabbit hole. You can just go down so many different directions with it. And I try to keep it simple. And I don't, usually put up a lot of charts and, talk a lot about configurations and aspects because, it just goes over a lot of people's heads. So what I like doing now is obviously on Twitter is just, very quick mentions, dates or certain aspects that might have a historical significance. So,
okay.
But yeah.
So yeah, I see you have 3 different kinds of wheels, chart 2 wheel, novice wheel, and a combo wheel. So what's the difference between the 3?
Well, so you can do, with astrology, you can overlay charts, you can add, a event chart, you can, put, the United States chart with the Federal Reserve chart. So that would be like a buy wheel.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And so I just put up Biden's chart because there's just some very interesting things that are happening right now. I feel, we've seen some news. I even tweeted about it last night. So
what was it?
Well, right now, so this infrastructure bill that they're looking to pass, this 1.2 trillion infrastructure.
Is it going to fail?
Well, the Republicans had made a deal with the Democrats, and it looks like Biden came out on Thursday. And
you faded out again, Karen. I don't know why, but
here we go. Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think my microphone for my computer, this might be a little better if I sit closer.
Yeah. So there it's good.
Yeah. So really, what's happening is, Biden is overconfident right now, and that really kind of shows up in his astrology. And with that, he came out and basically said that he wants a bill in tandem. And so he doesn't just want the 1.2 trillion. I mean, who knows how many trillions of dollars, which is just mind boggling to me, the trillions and even just $1 trillion, for an infrastructure bill. If you were to break it out, I thought we paid taxes that, to our states that covered a lot of infrastructure. So apparently, the federal government just needs to print a lot of money. And where is the money going? We just had a $1.9 trillion bill that was in March. So it's just a lot of money. And it smells like...
Well, if you have children, you'll be getting checks, I think, starting in a week just for being a parent.
Well, and that's true. And I think a lot of people look at that as, okay, I got a benefit, but really, to me, it smells like banking crisis. And there's just this signature in the astrology for that. And I would be very suspect of any monies that are being passed at the time. And I don't think it's just, the Federal Reserve.
We have an entitlement riddled economy now.
We're in trouble. Yes, we're in
All right.
trouble.
So bottom line, he's overconfident. He has a little hubris here. What's the prediction that he doesn't get it done because he came out and talked about linking the two? I mean, it was all over the news about, it's kind of hanging by a thread here. What is Planet saying, that he won't get it done or he will get it done?
I think that there's a bit of a financial crisis. So the real under the rug, what's been shoved under the rug is this banking crisis, probably all the way back, a decade ago.
2008 or
yeah. So it's just gone on, and
yeah.
And now it's more serious. And I think Russia is also on the brink, their central bank. I mean, we don't really see any news about that, and I'm just looking astrologically, and there's just a signature for it. It mirrors really what was happening in the late 90s, and it's just the opposite pattern of Uranus and Saturn square. So they've switched signs. So I think really, I look at that, and it's really intense conflict. Uranus Saturn squares are extremely volatile, and it can be sudden. That's just the planet of Uranus. And years ago in the 90s, when I really first started to get, are you there?
Yeah, I hear you. You moved away again from the microphone.
Sorry.
All right. That's okay.
So really years ago in the early 90s, when I first started to study astrology, it was really because of a spiritual path. And it really was more about, what was potentially happening in the world, and this crisis that we were moving into when Gorbachev was the leader. And so it's kept moving forward from that point. And I feel we are at that type of a crisis again, where it's a potential nuclear confrontation. So my entry into astrology was not to be an astrologer. It was really just to know and understand what was the signature and the warning then. And as time went on, my path evolved into, now, because of the opportunity we have with the internet, is just broadcasting it. And just because I know other information and this historical signature, we've just moved forward from that point. So you're asking me, what do I think is going to happen? What do I think is going to evolve? I think in July, we're going to find out.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard there are some potential black swans. One could be, Karen, we have the funding of the government coming up by the end of July. And what a great time for there to be a government shutdown based upon what you say. There are a lot of people feel that, how are we ever going to pay all this money back? And every, rescue package, and a lot of it has been fraud and people, taking advantage of it. So there's a possibility of us maybe being downgraded if we can't pass lift the debt ceiling again. So that happens the end of the month. Let me ask you this: been a lot of action by China flying over Taiwan. We came out and said Taiwan is no longer a problem for us with dealing with China. It's an opportunity. You talked about Uranus. Any potential geopolitical things as well besides the financial thing, on the horizon that you see?
Oh, absolutely. Because, that's Uranus. It's just this sudden political, curveballs out of left field that really throw things off balance. And I think Biden is a loose cannon. he is not a good person for them to be leading the charge. He's divisive, and he comes out and like he did last week, and just again, throws everybody off balance. And I think he's going to continue to make mistakes, and it could be this mistake that just escalates. But underneath that, as I mentioned, I really feel there is this financial crisis. And so that could be a trigger, where we actually start to see, or the American public, or just the public internationally starts to see the cracks in the central banking. And Bitcoin will be the nod. Bitcoin, my one key date that I had really early in the spring, March 13th, was a really important date in my view to really kind of give the clue that we were in a banking crisis. And that happened. Bitcoin for the first time went over 60,000. It was very quick, but we also had the $1.9 trillion that was passed literally on March 11th, just a couple days prior. So here we are. I have another date coming up, which I've, tweeted about since February. This July 10, 11 is a really important date. And they're at the table again, getting ready to pass, 1.2 trillion. So I don't think there's a coincidence.
Okay. So how does this banking crisis manifest? They always say that the next crisis, may not completely repeat that. We were ground zero in '08 because of derivatives on the housing market. Could it be Russia or somewhere in Europe that this time is the fuse that lights it? A lot of people looking for a euro breakup. Is there anything that you see our bailiwick is currency? I'm gathering that you're a crypto enthusiast or a believer. Is that, am I reading you correctly? That Bitcoin's the answer to this financial crisis?
I think it is for now. It does appear to me, and many have already stated, the escape valve, the escape hatch, whatever. It's an opportunity for people to really exit the central banking system. So for now, I think eventually it could evolve. And I do believe, just based on the Bitcoin, chart, its inception chart, which I use it's January 3rd, I think, of '09. So I think Bitcoin in and of itself is also another interesting monster. Okay. I'm not going to go down that road too much right now.
But it's a monster.
There's
just a different
else.
one.
It's just a different one. And so
there's monster. It's like Halloween with you today, Karen. So anyway, you know what? You're going to make my hair turn gray. Okay,
yeah.
And in fact, look, you already did. Look, you made my hair turn gray. See,
okay.
Just having this interview with you today, I've aged about 20 years. So, what's the best way to exploit it in your view? Maybe that's not your wheelhouse, but could it be, besides Bitcoin, precious metals? Are you in the inflation camp? Are there anything's telling you that, or are we going to have, now that everyone's worried about inflation, have some type of deflationary event where asset prices crash?
Well, I personally feel we're going to have some additional volatility coming up shortly. Jupiter going back into Aquarius right around 29 degrees has always been a point of, I will call it, financial engineering and volatility. And the markets can rip up and they can rip down. And so the last time I tweeted about that potential time frame, we saw extreme volatility. I mean, it got really, risky. And in the Bitcoin, even with that, Bitcoin, got wild. And it's held right around 30. And I think it's, maybe building some really good support at that level.
Okay.
But I do feel we're going into another cycle, which is coming up towards in July again, where we could see some real volatility. But
Okay.
again, they're past, they're going to be really needing to pass this 1.2 infrastructure bill, as they call it. Is it really infrastructure? That's an interesting word. Is it for roads and bridges, or is it their infrastructure?
Yeah, there's
So
the other part Biden wants to pass is societal infrastructure,
it's yeah, it's just, in my view, a label, because
social welfare.
that's what they're calling it. But
Yeah.
what is the money really for? I mean, when has the government?
Welfare,
Okay.
right? I mean, really just more of the giveaways and, just more of government support for, the redistribution of wealth. Um, anyway, that's
Yeah.
different than bridges and roads and power grids. I'm living in the desert. You see anything happening with power grids this summer?
Uranus rules electricity, and I think
Uh-oh,
we can have crazy weather.
we are.
Mother Nature, crazy weather, crazy people, riots. More of the same. And I've written or posted a few times. I feel that 2021 is another shit show.
Okay.
So, we just there's
And we're
there's
at
just
the
a
halfway mark. Let me ask you this. It's
yeah.
something I think about. All right. So, I believe that you believe in what you're seeing because you've seen these types of signals from the planets play out before. So, are you in the US? And what are
Yes.
you doing um, to make sure that you have some type of haven and you're prepped for it? I mean, if it's nuclear, there's no way to prep for it unless you want to go underground. But are you out of major metropolitan areas? Are you a preppy when you see all these things happening?
Okay, so Dale, my history. So going back to the 90s when this
Yeah.
pattern first emerged, yes, we were all, I have a lot of friends, and I'm in the US. I'm in a more metro area now, but I was in Montana at the
Okay.
time. And there's military grade bunkers
Yeah.
all over the place in Montana.
Yeah.
And I was a part of that. So I'm not there
Interesting.
now, but a
Yeah.
lot of my friends are. And
Okay.
so, if it got really, really bad, I'm just going to take my kids and I'm going to go back to Montana. But
How about COVID resurgence in the fall? I mean, everyone's saying this is behind us, but these variants, are we going to have? I'm not going to ask you if you had the vaccine or not. I'm guessing not, but um, are these vaccines going to prove to be not effective against some of the variants that are developing because it's a global pandemic?
so Uranus also often brings disease. And, at times when I see, even in a person's chart, where they have a really sudden, harsh type of an aspect with Uranus, a lot of time it brings some kind of health condition, and it's difficult to diagnose, but it often can be resolved through some sort of new age or alternative medicine, because again, that's really Uranus. Well, right now, this ivermectin is pretty much knocking out the COVID virus. And I find it interesting because it's an anti-parasitic drug.
Yeah, it's what you give your dogs so they don't get heartworm.
Dogs and horses, I happen to
Mm,
be very much in the equine industry, and we've been giving it to our horses for years. And
mm,
so people have access to it. It's an off patent drug. Merck originally held the
yeah.
patent for the ivermectin, and it's off patent. And so it's being manufactured by a lot of different manufacturers, drug manufacturers. And so it's readily available. You as a, consumer, you give it to your dog, people have been, giving it to their animals for decades and may even just have it. And I think even in India, where there were rural areas and they didn't have access to pharmaceuticals or couldn't get access to it, they did use. There were some humanitarian organizations that actually shipped to some of these communities just the horse paste.
Yeah.
And so some people were even just taking the horse paste.
Okay.
So, and without incident, and they knocked out the virus. So, this is, again, it's just like a sudden curveball out of left field to the agenda of what may have been, some, lab created virus.
Yeah.
Now here we've got something that cures it. So, do you need to even get the vaccine? And I think that's why suddenly a lot of it dropped. It was almost like as soon as the ivermectin story really hit, Biden took off his mask. He's not walking around with a mask anymore. Well, sometimes, but most of the time.
Yeah, it's very confusing. My wife told me, she got into the habit of wearing one, and now you go into a grocery store, you get ugly looks for wearing one because that implies you weren't vaccinated. And it's the opposite of how it was if you didn't wear a mask 6 months ago. You were, you got the bad looks for. Anyway, it's really, I feel like Rod Serling has written the episode that we're living in right now. Do you think that gold, a lot of people believe that the ancient relic of sound money will serve them to have physical possession of silver and gold? You have a view on that?
So I was wrong in my projection about gold. I really felt gold was going to go up in June, and it was just kind of comedy that there was that one gold coin from 1933 that sold for like $18 million right around the date that I suggested there would be a new all-time high. So that was just kind of a little comedy.
But, well, sometimes these things invert, right? So it was a significant day. It was a high. It doesn't always.
For that gold coin, right? Somebody paid 18 million. So maybe that was some kind of there's more to that story, or it was signaling something. I'm, not going to rule it out. But in terms of the overall trend, what we're watching, the gold chart has gotten very weak. So last year, I felt it was going to really go up into August, and it did. But then it retraced. Bitcoin kind of eclipsed it. And, they call Bitcoin now the new gold. I think it's good to own a lot of different assets, and gold should be one of them. I think silver should be one of them. Real estate should be one of them.
Okay.
Real estate, the cost to carry, so there's issues with every asset.
Yeah, there is. So if there's a financial crisis and it ends up being a liquidity crisis, real estate, although there's a shortage of single family homes, maybe some of these hedge funds that own 20, 30, 50,000 homes that they bought after the Great Recession might have to puke them back out onto the market. But with the stock market and S&Ps making new all-time highs, would you be shorting stocks or taking bearish positions in the stock market into your July 10th, 11th date?
I think somebody who is, really adept at, doing options and trading, you could take my analysis and use it because, you're good at it, right? I am not one of those people who, like publicly Michael Burry, he's probably trading very heavy. I mean, he's publicly announced it that he's short the dollar and he's short Tesla. But what is the daily activity of that? He's probably doing some very complicated trades, and
he's wrong about the dollar for now. But
exactly.
I think the dollar's heading up. And if we get the kind of crisis, you get safe haven buying in there, that would only accelerate it. I'm not looking for 120 in the dollar index, but 96 is pretty possible. Do you want followers and people to follow you on Twitter? Do you have a website? Are you looking to share your message with people? And if so, what would be the best way for them to do so, Karen?
Really right now is to follow me on Twitter. Years ago, I partnered with Jeff Pierce and Chris Ebert. Both were professional traders, and we had a newsletter. And Jeff has the zentrader.ca. He's in Canada. And for quite a few years, about 5 years, we published a subscription newsletter. And that Chris Ebert actually passed away a number of years ago. And really, our venture pretty much after that point faded out. I didn't continue it. Jeff didn't continue it. So right now, I don't have a subscription service. I'm not really publishing on the zentrader.ca. There's content there, from last year.
So Twitter.
But Twitter is it for now. I'm not writing articles right now. I'm pretty much behind the scenes. I have a career in real estate. And so I do this because I just know it. There's just things that I know. There's information I have, like I said, from many years ago, decades ago, that I'm just carrying forward now. It's just because it's almost like, you see something and you know it, and you just want to say, hey, by the way, this is that. And
well,
yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate you coming in. It was interesting conversation, and I'm a believer that everything is tied together. Planetary things I think are important, and change of seasons and lunar cycles. So I've also been accused of being a lunatic, Karen. So you could follow Karen at kstar kstar _trader TRADER, and pay attention to this July 10th, 11th date. It's been a long time since we've had a president die in office. We've skipped a few of those. It used to be a cycle. Everyone is worried about Biden's health. What do you think? Is he going to make it through is his chart saying he'll make it through his first term? Or will any of us make it?
Right.
Huh? Karen?
So this is important. I feel that whoever was president, I'm not just looking at Biden's chart. He does have stress aspects there, and I can see the overconfidence and the potential for mistakes. I don't ever really look at a president's personal chart that much. I really rely very heavily on the U.S. chart as well as the Federal Reserve. And I would say that whoever was president would be at risk for not finishing.
In this term, this recent
Exactly.
term.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, Karen, thank you so much. I found it interesting, and I have discretion on who I bring in, and perhaps we could get together in the fall and see if we still are doing webinars after July 10th and 11th.
I think we'll still be here, Dale. I think God does not want to wipe us out.
All right. Well, he's not done with us, huh? We still have a mission. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, Karen, really a pleasure meeting you, and interesting conversation. And thank you for your giving spirit to share your time with us today.
Thank you so much, Dale. It was fun, and I hope we get a chance to do it again.
Nice meeting you. Everyone, that's Karen, and you can follow her at kstar _trader. See everyone for Turnaround Tuesday tomorrow. Good hunting the rest of the day. John thanked you. He's healthier than us, Galaxy's saying, and Malia says thank you, and you're now my trading warrior sister, Karen. So you can't get it. It's like being in the mafia. You can't get out of it. And so remember, everyone, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And we'll see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday. Adios. Thanks again, Karen.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Bye.